The Hash It Out Show is brought to you by Barreto Home Solutions, Bayou Audio and Video, Hot Works on the North Shore, JFK Martial Arts in Mandeville and Covington, Lil Dizzy's Cafe, The Green Law Firm, personal injury attorney, Kaylin Parker of Magnolia Wealth Strategies, Moe's Pizza, Lance's AC and Heating, CC's Children Blocks, The Pierre Family in Lafayette, Louisiana, Drums Earwear.
Hands up, hands up. If you winning and you don't give a fuck about a hater, tell them move, 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 move. Cause I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Hash It Out Show. I'm your host, JB, the sports guy. We got a good one for you all tonight. In a little bit, at 7:30, we will have members of the 2011 Western Athletic Conference Championship football team of Louisiana Tech Bulldogs joining us to recap on that season because it was magical, but there was a lot of turbulence at first to get started with that season. But they made it work, and somebody got a TV on the back. It's loud back there. I don't know which one of y'all it is, but it's one of y'all with a TV on. It's loud. I can hear it.
I'll go check it out.
All right, no doubt. But I need y'all to introduce yourselves before you leave. Start with the one and only BK Jones.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Like, tag, share, subscribe to the Hash It Out Show, all social media platforms. We are on live on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. So continue to support us, continue to ride with us. We're riding a wave and we're continuing to ride it. This is Legends Month right here on the Hash It Out Show.
That's right. That's right. And we got the one and only George Peppers. What's up, GP?
What's up, JB, VK? And hey, like I said last night, this is the perfect segue to August when we get to previews for the prep season. This is the perfect segue. And stay with us. We got lots more legends than tonight. We've got some monstrous legends, some big time legends coming forward here the rest of this month. And I can't wait.
I know you can.
And it's
That's right.
and
That's right.
VK going to turn that TV off because I heard it too. I knew it wasn't me because I'm just nestled away, dude. I'm like quiet as a church mouse back here.
It was it not right, man. But look, man. So people will remember the 2011 season, LSU losing to Alabama. What's up, Chuck? LSU losing to Alabama in the national championship here in the Superdome.
The
But
worst coach game in history.
say that again. Say that again. But people won't remember, that team from Ruston, Louisiana, who turned a corner midway through the season, to finish with an 8-4 record. People don't know about the struggles of that team. People don't know about how many close games that team was in and lost. People don't know about a game that they were up 34-7 and lost all in the fourth quarter. They don't know about all of that. Like, when there's trials and tribulations that's happening, guess what? That team went through a lot of it. A lot of it. And he's not going to be able to join us tonight, but the one of the guys I wanted was quarterback Kobe Cameron, who made their all-century team 2000 to 2025. Kobe didn't even win the starting job his redshirt junior year. he got put in the middle of the season, which we talk about later, and he was one of the reasons how things just went uphill. And he became one of the best quarterbacks in history for Louisiana Tech. You got Jordan Mills, who played right tackle, who got drafted into the NFL. You got Adrian Cole, to me, was pretty much maybe the best middle linebacker La Tech ever had, in my opinion. You got Chad Boyd, one of the best safeties La Tech ever had. So they had talent all around, and I don't want to forget Rufus Porter from Destrehan. If Rufus never broke his neck in his senior season at Illinois, if he didn't break his neck, man, Rufus would have been in the NFL as well. Rufus Porter was a bad boy, without a doubt. But GP, trials and tribulations, you got to learn how to win games, and that was something that this team learned how to do.
The definition of overcoming adversity. See Louisiana Tech 2011. What could go wrong did go wrong in the first 4 games, and you mentioned they threw away a 34-7 lead. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was that the Mississippi State game in Ruston they lost?
It was in Ruston.
That was
but it
in Ruston, Mississippi State. Was that?
No, it was Case Keenum in Houston.
Who was it? Oh, Houston. That's right. I knew it was one of them middles, but and that was their rock bottom moment, giving that game back, and then they swing and they put Colby Cameron in, and what do they say? The backup quarterback is the most popular player on the team, but you know what? He provided a literal spark for them, and they ran off a bunch of wins. Sure, they lost a tough bowl game to a pretty rugged TCU team that was well coached. Gary Patterson is a very good coach.
All the way.
Yes. It was physical. It was tough. Atypical of the conference that La Tech represents, because with the WAC, they're not known for big hitters. I mean, that conference as a whole is not a physical conference per se. You talk about the Big Ten back then, you could say that about them, but the WAC, it's a good conference. It was a solid conference, pretty well rounded. But Louisiana Tech VK was. They were in quicksand after the first 4 weeks, and then they put Colby Cameron in, and bam, they took off. And it was a great inspirational season to tell. And this is a season that young kids should learn. When things go bad early, don't quit. Don't quit. This is the perfect film to watch. You want to learn how to overcome? Look what that team did. Everything that could go wrong did, but they found their way back, VK. And they got a bowl game. Granted, they didn't win the bowl game, but they got a conference championship, even with 4 losses.
VK goes, I want to say that when you think about it, when this winning season happened for La Tech, they went many years of having winning seasons. Even after Sonny Dice left to go to California and Skip Host came, La Tech stayed as a winning program. Go ahead, VK.
Yeah, and you look at how the season earlier, like you mentioned, it was 1-4, not a good start,
right?
And then all of a sudden, Colby Cameron takes over, and the win that really, really catapulted Louisiana Tech and gave them a whole bunch of confidence, not just to get to a bowl, but to win the conference championship when they go up to Ole Miss and won 27-7, and especially in that time of the season, this late. For them to turn it on, to get a win like that on the road in a tough SEC, and then you go on the road again and you go against, and I think at the time, Nevada was taking, at the time, there was
Nevada was running it. Nevada was running it.
They was on a run. They was on a run in the WAC. And for them to win on those 2 big road games was huge for them. And for them to win that conference championship, and for the first time ever, a team from the Deep South wins the WAC.
The second time. They won it first one in 2001.
Okay.
You good, brother? It's all good.
2001. I thought it was like so Tech at the time. Louisiana Tech joined the WAC in 2001, right?
I don't remember when they joined it. But I know they won the 2001 WAC championship. Okay. And they went 10 years and they won that 2011.
Didn't know that.
You good, brother.
Yeah, but but man, that's big because the WAC is always known for certain teams and everything else. And at the time, you think it was the birth of the Mountain West Conference. So the Mountain West Conference was existing more than anything else because a lot of the old heads from that conference
Yeah.
moved on.
Yep.
So, but still, you still had some of the old people like a Nevada, like a Utah State, who kind of moved up, Hawaii, and everything else. But for Louisiana Tech to go on and run, it was big in itself. You know, regardless of the fact they lost to TCU, but at a very very good ball game, very good ball game in the Poinsettia Bowl, and but at the same time, that team is remembered for forever for what they did. Very few times that Louisiana Tech has been successful, but a very good and competitive program in the state of Louisiana. And they were there's one of those true stories in the state of Louisiana outside of LSU football, outside of maybe Tulane. Because you look at Louisiana Tech's runs, you look at ULL getting to bowl eligibility and winning the first time they ever been to a bowl, or the Mark Hudspeth.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you look at 2011, 2 years later, Southeast Louisiana gets a playoff win at home against Sam Houston, and it was Bennett who was at quarterback at the time. Brian Bennett, who was a transfer from Oregon, came in there, took over, and handled some business. And I think there was Roberts who coached Mark Roberts, I believe is now. I'm trying to make sure his name is right. He's an assistant. He's been an assistant in a couple places, and Roberts was that head coach at the time. Mark Roberts, who coached Southeastern to that playoff win.
I mean,
Ron Roberts,
Ron
thank you
Roberts,
so
BK.
much. Ron
Ron,
Roberts,
you're
Ron
welcome.
Roberts, who done a great job turning around that program. So it's great stories. We always hear in the past outside of LSU, we always hear about formerly before it was ULM, it was Northeast Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Northeast Louisiana always had some great playoff teams, and they won a national title in 1AA, and then the same thing with McNeese State going deep into the playoffs itself. But it's good when you see other teams, and it makes the state more better. It's not just LSU and Tulane.
Without a doubt, make the state more better. We want to see all Louisiana schools do well, and there's a chance that McNeese may be moving up to join the Sun Belt. We'll see how that goes. And La Tech wanting to leave Conference USA and join the Sun Belt. It's crazy how the Sun Belt at one time was like the bottom of the list of all the conferences. Now all of a sudden the Sun Belt is above those group of fives and everything, probably except for the American. That's crazy. But
two reasons that your statement is true: good leadership and good talented teams, athletic teams. These two teams, Louisiana Tech and McNeese, recognize La Tech is going to try to go, in there, and they recognize the depth
And
of that conference. They're not stupid.
they actually recently a school tried to block them from going into the Sun Belt.
A lot of schools try to block them because they said they feel like it's a disadvantage that there are 3 Louisiana schools in that conference, but they haven't said nothing in regards to McNeese joining the conference. So
not yet. It's coming though.
We'll see. But back to Louisiana Tech, man, because the offense was coming along, and then a year later they were the number 1 offense in the nation. But a lot of credit has to go to that defense that year, because that was a really, really good defense. And when you look at it, the points they allowed that whole season, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna go through every game and let y'all know. Okay, Southern Miss 19. That game was played in a tropical storm. That made sense to me. Southern Miss scores 19. Central Arkansas 48. That was the most they gave up the whole year. Houston scored 35. Kind of high right now. Mississippi State scored 26. Hawaii scored 44. After that, this defense was really lights out. Idaho 11, Utah State 17, San Jose State 28, Fresno 21, Ole Miss 7, Nevada 20, New Mexico State 0. This defense started to come along and play so much better, and their defense was getting recognition. Even on ESPN, never forget Trevor Mattis saying how Louisiana Tech had a great defense for a school coming out of the WAC. So the defense that year was very good. Defensive coordinator was Tommy Spangler, but that defense, they had some studs on that defense. And when I tell you, I mentioned Chad Boyd, I mentioned Adrian Cole, Justin Jellybean Ellis, who went to the NFL, Matt Broha, defensive end, one of the best defensive ends ever in Louisiana Tech history. This dude had a motor that never cut off. You got I.K. Inapali, who was there. You got Kristen Lacey that was there. Dude, they had talent. And I want to say when they played Mississippi State, Sonny Dykes realized the talent he had on his team. They were very talented, GP.
No doubt. No doubt. And there's one player on that defense. You mentioned Cole. Kind of wish he was a little bit
Yes.
taller. I mean, he was what, 5'10",
5'10",
maybe?
maybe 5'11", right there.
5'10",
Yeah.
something like that. In the neighborhood. If he was about 6'2", 6'3", he's playing at the
Without a
NFL
doubt.
level. I don't think there's any question. That dude's, and then you mentioned your boy, the one with the endless
Broha.
motor. That's the
Yeah.
Energizer Rabbit. Yeah, that's the Energizer Rabbit of that defense. He was that. Look, it was a compilation of good football players. Were they elite? No, but as a unit, they became elite later in the season. That defense made, like you guys said, tremendous strides, and the standout effort. It's without a doubt Ole Miss in Oxford. You go to Oxford and you only allow 7, and you run roughshod. Yeah, you got my attention when you do that. That was a very, very much an attention grabber for me that they did that against Ole Miss. And it stunk that they lost the bowl game. And again, it was a TCU team that was teasing big things and doing big things, and a very well coached team at the time in Gary Patterson, and look, maybe it was a lot to ask Louisiana Tech. I mean, they had momentum, won the conference. Maybe it was a
It was
lot
the
to
only
ask
bowl
again in an
game that
independent, in a
featured. It's the
neutral
only
site
bowl game that
bowl
featured
game.
2 conference champions. The only one out of every bowl game.
Yep, yep. I don't, and, look, we've got a smorgasbord of bowl games now from everywhere in the country. Pretty soon we'll have some overseas. We'll see. I mean, that's crazy if
We
that happens. But
we
VK,
we
yeah,
already
look,
had we already had
what Louisiana Tech season speaks to.
remember we already have a couple bowl games overseas.
Oh, yeah, the Bahamas.
Right.
Yeah, the Bahamas. They got the Bahamas Bowl and well, who else? I'm trying to think. I can't think of who else. But the Bahamas Bowl is the only one I know of that is
Yeah.
considered overseas. I mean, don't say Hawaii. That's still a continental. It's not continental U.S., but it's still
Correct.
United States. Um, but with that said, what Louisiana Tech showed you is the depth of talent in this state, and we continue to preach this at the high school level that we've got maybe arguably the best pool of talent in the United States here. You can make arguments about what kind of talented players we produce on a yearly basis. Louisiana Tech, with the compilation of players they had, some of them came from here, spoke to the depth of how good we have it here.
Go ahead, VK.
Yeah, and I tell you, man,
I was giving it to them.
well, and the thing with Tech at the time, it's a lot of work in progress for them to just continue. Like, you think what, and we talked a little bit yesterday about how things went way back to the late '90s and stuff like that, of how good and competitive they were, and they had some winning seasons even then in the '90s. They just couldn't get to a bowl game. Wasn't enough bowl games back in the day, like talking about it. And then Louisiana Tech had to make a move to go to more of a bigger conference, because I think at one time was Tech independent. At one time, there was an independent school, and then they finally went to a
I want to
conference.
say Division 2, and then they moved up to Division 1. I don't know if they
Yeah,
were independent, but I want to say Division
I don't
Two.
know if they. I, I think Veek's right. I'm not 100% sure, but I
I
feel
think
like
I think they were
he's right.
independent when they came into Division 1 for a minute, and then they finally joined the conference, and
Yeah,
the
because
conference became
they
smaller.
had to sit independent for a spell before they found a conference.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Louisiana Tech played a lot of great teams outside of Louisiana teams.
of course.
They weren't afraid to
always
schedule.
they wasn't afraid to schedule at all, But once they
No.
once they started getting success and everything, they felt like, hey, we need to be in a conference, which they did join, and they wound up, trying to get to a bigger and better conference, which they did. And it kept climbing and climbing and making sure the success rate continued to go up. And then on top of that, they had to upgrade the facilities. They, a lot more fans coming to the games. That Bulldog support started to go up after that. So it's been unbelievable how everything was built from the ground up to what it is right now. And that 2011 team is a team that you really won't forget of
Oh,
what they accomplished and how they had the big one of a huge comeback in itself for them to win a conference championship, have get to a bowl game. And what's the biggest thing, what I like a lot of times, and you just don't realize this, and I
make
realize
it
this
quick.
later. When a lot of times you think you can get that championship ring, you win the national championship. Nah, just get that conference championship. Get that
Definitely
conference
for a
championship.
group
Get
of
that ring.
5, without a doubt.
Exactly. You
Definitely.
get your conference championship. Either way, you win a conference championship, you got something coming.
That's right. We're gonna take a quick commercial break, and we come back. We'll be back with members from that 2011 Western Athletic Conference Championship team that played for the Bulldogs of Louisiana Tech, right here on the Hash It Out Show. Are you in need of a new windshield? Leo Autoglass can help. For 20 years, Leo Autoglass have been servicing the New Orleans area with windshield replacement and auto glass repair. Give them a call today, 504-301-8353.
Hey y'all, this is Jen Hale from Fox Sports. You're watching the Hash It Out Show with JB the Sports Guy, VK Jones, and George Peppis.
Did you experience storm damage from Hurricane Francine? Barretto Home Solutions can help. You can give them a call at 504-940-7552.
Hi, I'm Erica Randolph, head coach of the Hahnville Tigers boys basketball team, and you are watching the Hash It Out Show.
And welcome back to the Hash It Out Show. I'm your host, JB the Sports Guy, alongside VK Jones and George Peppis. And as I said, we have members of that 2011 Western Athletic Conference Championship team, the La Tech Bulldogs, some will say, but the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. Right now, we got one of our favorite guests of all times, Loud Feet. What's up, Coach Loud Feet? What's going on, baby?
What's up, fella?
Not much.
Right.
We got two-time all WAC safety, and he's on the Thorpe Award list, the one and only. Oh, and all decade team got Chad Boyd. What's going on, Chad Boyd?
What's up, everybody?
Right.
I got good stories about these two right here, boy.
Oh, that's what I'm
Don't let
talking
them fool you.
And we got all decade team member, all WAC member, all century team member, and also this guy here played in the NFL for several years. We got the one and only Jordan Mills. What's up, Jay Millie? What's going on, man?
What's good with y'all, man?
Oh, man, I'm just glad y'all are here now. Adrian Cole is supposed to be joining us. He's having trouble logging in, so I'm trying to get him in right now. He's having trouble logging in. So Adrian Cole is supposed to join us as well. But fellas, glad y'all are here to join us. Let's get going. Each one of y'all can answer this question first. Going into that junior season of you all, the year before y'all finished 5-7.
Mm-hmm.
What was the mindset that you guys had amongst yourselves as a team going into that 2011 season?
Who going first?
Yeah.
Tell you what, we'll let Jay Millie go first.
Okay.
All right. Our mindset was to elevate from the year before because obviously we were, coming a year deep in from a new regime, a lot of new players, and I think we started to gel later that season in 2010 and gain that camaraderie with amongst each other. So the following season, we definitely wanted to, up our game and show everybody what we had because the previous, we had already been there. Us three had been there for 2 years. And the previous, well, the year before we got there, they actually went to a bowl game, but Tech hadn't had a excellent season since that 2008 season. That's the only season, and before that, the closest good season they had was in 2001, their first year in the WAC when they won the WAC Championship for the first time. So our mindset was to come in and show the nation who we were because we had a lights out spread offense with a lot of talent on it. A lot of guys that transferred in from SEC schools and different schools and at that sort. We our class, and I'm gonna continue to say, and I say it all the time. 2009 is the best class that ever come through Louisiana Tech University. I know Cole just logged on, but it is what it is. Everybody knows that. We changed the dynamic of Louisiana Tech football, so we had a lot of talent on that team that we wanted to impose on people.
All right, Chad boy, your thoughts?
I mean, a lot of what Jordan said. I mean, we had a moment. I think we all knew when we first got there that the talent was there. Like, I remember one of our first practices, and I had to Philip Livas, and I was like, his name sounds familiar, but you forget sometimes, and then you realize like, oh, that's Philip Livas. Like, okay, and then like we had Daniel Porter as freshman, and a lot of things in those first couple of years, like us four, we was all freshman starters. We was on a learning curve from the first day we got there because we had that little bit of pressure to play. And I think that junior year was the first year where injuries, being more experienced in that position, just getting those reps. I think entering that junior year, our junior year, we felt as though like, no, we got a shot. There was a couple of games where you go, all right. Especially those non-conference games where we're going SEC or Big Ten, when we was playing those schools, and we just like, yeah, we might have something. Obviously, certain things fell into place, whether it be quarterback. We went from one. I mean, think about this: when we played LSU that freshman year, I think we started 3 tight ends. I think the week. Sophomore year when we played A&M at A&M, and it was a nail biter until that Hail Mary. The leading receiver might have been Eric Harper, who was a tight end.
Yeah.
We just had these instances where like if stuff just aligned itself earlier, I think that the seasons where we had junior senior year could have been even earlier. So I think that was just the main thing, just timing. That second year under Coach Dykes. I mean, it was hell for us on defense. 30-second possessions and we back on the field for punts. So it's just like, oh crap. But other than that, man, I think that's the big thing. Just having the right people at the right time, executing at the right time.
Coach Feet?
Well, I'm gonna reiterate, man. Of course, 09, man, the best class to come through. La Tech, man. We had one of the biggest freshman classes when we came through there. I think we seen true freshmen. More than half of us played as a true freshman, So they was trying to get us going from the rip, off the rip because again, the year prior they won that bowl game. Going, I think we went either 4-8. I think we went 4-8 our freshman year.
And we lost Coach Feet for a second. He come back. But we also got this guy, to me, man, one of the best linebackers to ever do it. This guy could sniff out a play, all WAC. He made the Century team as well. We got the one and only Adrian Cole. What's up, Mr.
Not
Cole?
much, man. First of all, thank y'all for having me and keeping me in consideration, man. I just want to tell y'all thank y'all for keeping me in thought, man. I didn't get a really chance to get the premise of the what we're speaking on because I came in late, and so
I got you, brother. I got you. So we starting off with the year before y'all finished 5-7. What was the mindset heading
Mhm.
into the following season with you being a captain and a senior leader?
I think the biggest mindset that really helped us was just that we started believing, and we really believed, and in a lot of the games early, towards the latter part, because it really started my junior year that we started to see, okay, there's something bubbling underneath here, and because that junior team was pretty decent. I think that was Dyke's first year. That was Ross Jenkins last year. And we started bubbling, and we really had something special right there. And then it carried on to the next season, and then that next season, um I think the biggest thing that happened was, the defense was always the defense, but the biggest thing was that they switched Nick Isom to Kobe Cameron and didn't look back. You know what I mean? And when they switched it to when they switched it to Kobe from Nick, then the offense really took off. Now, it wasn't as much a defensive battle as it was that, now we got our couple stops in the game, whatnot, and that offense was just turning and turning, turning, turning. And Kobe Cameron, because we all knew when Nick was at quarterback, I love Nick, if you're watching it, Nick, no hard feelings, but my dog was going eyeball down Quinn Patterson. Yeah, I'll never forget the Mississippi State game. Quinn told Nick, "Hey man, they triple double teaming me because Q been cooking them the whole night, and so they started bracket covering him." And Nick still threw it. That was the interception. Flipped the ball. Then they scored on like their first and second play, and that was ball game against Mississippi State. And I felt we had them dead to rights there. But so we switched to Isom. We switched to Kobe, and that just totally that really changed some things up right there. But really, it was, to me, I think Tech got lucky, man. They just caught a good group of guys at the right time because God lead. I just imagine if we had NIL during that time, oh, that team would have never made it because I was gone. You dig? I'll be honest with you, I was gone. Boy, Tech didn't have enough money, and I'm pretty sure J Mills same way. Kobe Cameron, they would have came and got QP. They would have came and got Miles. They would have that whole O line. They would have probably tried to eat them up. You know what I mean? And D line wise, anybody who looked, because we were good, and and to be God honest, and what was so crazy, I don't know how teams didn't really. Our philosophy, at least on defense, was bend but don't break, because we used to practice every single blitz, dog, frog, Mike goes, all that. Just to, at the end of the day, only run check with me. That's all we ran, was just check with me. We just ran base defense most, and occasionally Mike goes, because they'd like to send me on blitzes and whatnot. But it was more just check with me everything, or a might go. That was about the extent of our defense.
I want to ask the two offensive players right quick. If Coach Feedy, if Lyle Fee can still hear me. If not, Lyle, now you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I hear you, Lyle. You good. You good. All right. I want to ask Jordan and Lyle this, because I wanted Kobe Cameron here, and he's not able to be here tonight. But what were the thoughts in your head? And we'll let Coach Lyle go first. When Nick Isom was named the starting quarterback over Kobe Cameron,
I was shocked. Some of the stuff that was kind of said was, basically, I don't want to be the one. Yeah, that his daddy paid for him to be the starter.
Now, mind you, his daddy lived in California. He was a Grammy producing. He was the Grammy producing soundtrack producer for the movie Crash. He used to be at more practices than any of our parents who lived in Louisiana.
That's true. That's true. And what's kind of frustrating, and I'm trying to hold myself back. I felt I was on the brink of having a great season, and when they talk about them making the switch from Nick Isham to Kobe Cameron. It was that Idaho game. And during Idaho, I got set up because he was staying me down and he threw a drag. And when I tell you I got knocked out the game, I didn't even feel my ACL pop. Like I was on the ground feeling for my mouthpiece. So
Listen,
definitely the hardest hit ever. Uh,
I
it
had a
was
concussion that game, and I remember still when Lyle got hit.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I
I had a
mean that was
concussion that game. I
that was
remember when
really
Lyle got hit.
frustrating for me. Because like they said, we kind of started off slow that year, but
Mm.
the offense really picked. I'm talking about once Kobe Cameron touched the ball, man. Once he got behind center, man, it was all systems go, man. We ended up turning into that high air raid offense, that broke records the next, year or two. So I mean, everything happened for a reason, but definitely, man, I felt the season could have even been a whole lot better if we would have played the right guy from the jump. But
J Mills.
Yeah, to go off what Lyle said, it was shocking. But to go back to the year before, we had they started one, two. We had
three,
four different starting quarterbacks
yep,
uh the previous year. And I think that when Ross got in, that's when we gained that continuity and we started to that offense started to show where we can be special. And the new regime, they kind of had their thoughts, they would bring in their play because the players that were there, they didn't recruit. So a lot of the coaches didn't trust the players that were already there. So they would bring in the players that they recruited, like a Nick Isham and other people of that sort. So it was shocking, and especially we started off slow. He was the youngest person on our team because he was 17 years old. A lot of people didn't know that he was 17 years old.
right.
And his nerves, like if anybody remembers before the game, he'd be walking around, talking to everybody. You can see the nerves were there, and and everybody has nerves, but I don't think he was prepared for the moment yet.
Mm-hmm.
And what Lyle said about the Idaho game, that changed everything when they put Kobe in. Because that Mississippi State game that Cole talked about, we thought we had it locked in because they had guys on the team. Fletcher Cox, a future Hall of Famer, was on that defensive line that
Yeah,
had to block a few times. Darius Slay was at cornerback trying to guard QP,
yeah.
Dick
and we had
Ballard
them
was in the
dead to rights.
backfield.
I Cole had one of those Chad knockout hits on the running back, had him on the ground knocked out. But we lost that game, and everybody, was like, "Man, we could have had that." And then the next game, we're going into Idaho, we're losing, and then all of a sudden they put Kobe in. But
I think you mean
you
Utah
know,
State, right? Utah State when
huh?
Kobe came in.
I thought it
Utah
was
State.
Utah
No, it
State
was
too
it
when
was
y'all
it was
made the switch
Idaho.
to
It was
Kobe.
Idaho.
It
They
was
brought
Idaho,
they,
Okay.
they started him. They started Kobe Utah State, but they
right?
brought him in Idaho. So when
After
they
I got
brought him
knocked
in,
out.
yeah, and that started all the injuries on offense. He got knocked out. I had a severely bad sprained ankle. Then I think Andrew Gilliard tore his ACL that game. That we called that the body bag game because everybody got hurt. I think Jelly sprained his had a high ankle sprain that game.
That's Justin
Like we
Ellis.
we 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 won that game. That was the start of the 7 game win streak, but we
Mhm.
lost a lot that game. But when they put Kobe in, and there's no shade to Nick, it was just a different atmosphere. And then the funny thing about it, Kobe was in the same position as Nick the previous year because Kobe's
Yes,
nerves and the way because he did start a couple of games for us. If people remember, he got pulled out of the Texas A&M game, and
Mhm.
Tyreek went in and finished the game for him. Um, and he kind of had that same feeling that Nick had, like the nerves and getting acclimated to starting and being in big moment games. But when it came again that following year, he was ready for the moment, and then we just flew from there. And also, we just like from the previous years, yeah, we had talent, but we had guys on that offense now that can really stress the defense and stretch the field.
Yeah, you talk about Quentin Patton, you had Miles White,
Now,
and then you had even Lennon Creer at running back.
Yeah, yeah.
We had T.O. too, but
Oh,
I know who
we
T.O.
were
is. I know you talking about. I know you talking about everybody.
man. Let me tell you something. Out of all the wide receivers we had, he was the most talented
yeah.
person
Yeah.
we had. And I every time I see him, I tell him this, I want to whip your ass. Because if he would have flipped that switch, he would have had records that nobody would have broke at Tech. Nobody.
I mean, his nickname was T.O. Like
His
he
catch
was,
radius, his
he
catch
could have been
radius
just like,
was unbelievable.
is he your
Like
daddy?
you see him in practice, nobody could stop him. And
Go ahead,
then,
Rob.
and the thing about it is, we just waiting for him. And then every year since his sophomore year, he would have one play. He was always that guy that would make that one play in a game that would change the game. He did it our sophomore year versus New Mexico State. He caught a 75-yard bomb. And then to seal up not to seal up the WAC championship when we beat Nevada for the first time, when Cole went crazy after the game ended, he caught a
Still had the game winning
sideline
sack, baby.
tiptoe pass
Yeah.
that I don't think nobody would have caught.
hey,
Like
you know who
every
set
year
that
he had a
play up?
catch.
Jonell set that play up. Because remember, Jonell got the penalty on the sideline that pushed us back a little bit further on that play. You know what I mean?
Let me ask y'all this. This is for Chad and Adrian Cole. And Chad, you can go first. And I'm not gonna talk about every game, but I want to talk about the first couple games. And I'm not including, well, I am including it. All these games, pretty much, y'all lost by a touchdown. The losses. I'm talking about the losses of the regular season. Y'all lost by a touchdown or less. Or less. Except for Hawaii. That was a 26-44 loss. But regardless of the fact, y'all was in most of these games. How frustrating was it knowing that we're in these games that we should win and we're not getting the job done?
I mean, it was extremely frustrating, especially when we got to the point where I mean, I tell people all the time, like, especially as a coach now, and these kids had aspirations to go pro and all these things. I tell them, like, dude, my middle linebacker was defensive player of the year. And the other linebacker the year before that won that is Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
And if you put Cole's stats with him in those 2 years, and you're just watching football, you're gonna say Adrian Cole was probably a better football player. Cause he just like AC did every, like, I'm at safety and I got AC in the middle, like we all right. You talk about like dissecting plays and calling out stuff before things even happen,
Mhm.
and then be able to make it like that. That's the type of players we had, like and people forget, even though that was the dying years of the WAC, those last couple of years probably the best years the WAC had. I mean, it was our senior year when 3 of those teams were all ranked top 25. And so, we knew we can make these things happen. I think the frustration came in was like because we were right there. Overtime loss, Mississippi State, the 1 point to Southern Miss. There you just go back and there's always a play or two or a couple plays here. You go, dang, if I had that back, we'll get it.
Even the Houston game up 34-7.
Shoot, even TCU in the bowl game, we 1 play away, and I'm 3 inches from a pass breakup, but then I got beat. And Peter, that was a 60-meter champ in the Big 12 the previous year. So it's like there's always just a play here and there where but those plays help you set up for like the seasons we had after. Because if you got to go through some of that to eventually learn how to win in those situations, how to stay calm, process the game, process the plays in that nature, and then just when you're in those moments, just be able to live up to that moment and just fulfill destiny. I mean, we, like the guys were saying, we got there, it was 4-8 first year. A lot of us was like, I don't know, man. Tech, yeah, maybe, you know, I know everybody's had a moment where you're just like, I don't know. But you go through it. You go through those growing pains and it shows at the end. You know, we're still the last team to win a conference championship at Tech. It's been 14 years.
For real?
For real.
Yeah.
The only thing they've
Yeah.
won since then, as far as conference, is a division. And that's the year when they lost to Western Kentucky in the Conference USA Finals. I think you look at the players who have come out of that from that time period. You know, we talk about Jay Mills and Jelly, obviously two of the bigger guys who made it, but Cole's with the Bears. Broha made it. I mean, even like we talk about T.O. even got invited. You know, we talk about dudes who didn't necessarily have all the stats, but it's just like there's dudes everywhere, right? And Cole Peter Good is like maybe it was a little luck that we just had that many good players at one point to say, dang, like I remember playing in the Bayou Bowl, and Lyle could attest to this. J Mills and Jelly, and I was like, yeah, y'all coming to Tech, huh? Yeah, it was like I was like, how? I was like, Jay, how does not LSU not take J Mills? He's down the street. The dude's 6'6", 330, who wears skinny suits. You know what I mean? The dudes like that don't walk around, even of LSU's caliber. You know what I'm saying? So that was those times, man. That was really it. We knew we had people, you know, Cole and J Dud at linebacker, like you know, Broha and all them boys like D-line Jelly, like we had the people to make things happen. I think just over time we learned how to win, and then even you know, look at Texas A&M. What was it, 35-7 in the first quarter?
Something like
You
that.
know, we
Yeah.
were playing Manziel, and then we was like, "Who snap?" And then you know, we settled a little bit. Offense got it going. Before you know, it's tie game. You know, before you know it, we down. We went down to 10 again. Next thing we right back in it. You know, people forget Mike Evans was on that team. You know, we saw Von Miller 2 years prior. Me and Jay Mills are sophomores. Like we know what those dudes look like, and we know we had those dudes to compete with them.
Cole, your thoughts?
Man, my thoughts was always like, man, I know we're good. We just gotta finish. And the one game that probably hurt me the most is that I really wanted to beat Houston. I felt like with Houston, a lot of things people don't realize when you play these spread teams that run that high tempo offense, you can only call once you crack the cadence code, you know their plays. And I had cracked the cadence code to them. And so I was just guessing all their plays, you know what I mean? And it was just hurt. It started with a screen. We kind of, and then the old saying is, it's hard when you let your foot off the gas. It's hard to get it back going. And with Houston, we took off on them so quickly and so fast that when we we get one touchdown, then two touchdowns, then oh no, and when we try to get it back, but it always felt to me like we was just right on the precipice of just being that tier team. And one of I don't like to do my own hard, but the only speech I ever remember was that I was legitly tired of being a good team. I told guys, man, we finna take this step and be great, and I sincerely mean it. And I was just very proud of the guys that we came along and took that step and moved in that direction and see the program. And I don't know if you noticed, like when I first got there to Tech, they used to have a big old health banner that used to cover one whole section of the bleachers.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, towards the latter part, towards the end, you better get to Tech games early or you ain't getting in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it got to like that. I remember when we first got to Tech, kids used to be a hill right there. We used to run hills in the summer, and kids used to be rolling down the hills while the football game was going on. You know what I mean? Nobody cared. But now that Tech winning and things got serious and people locked in, hey man, y'all gotta move around with all that. So it just always bothered me, and it was just good to see that we finally got to a point where it mattered to everybody else, and we took those losses and learned from them and build upon them. We just didn't sit there and dwell on them. Now Hawaii, we just kind of came out there early, laid an egg. I don't know why more teams didn't try to. We used to have a team that gave us another team that gave us a problem was Nickel State. Nickel State ran that triple option, but it forces your cornerbacks to be on islands because you got to load up the box. And Nickel State they took advantage of one-on-ones out there. But I mean, it was. I enjoyed it, man, and yes, and them losses did bother me and everything like that. But for the most part, I felt like we had a hellified good senior year. You know what I mean? We won the games that we were supposed to win, and really went there and shocked people because I always felt like we had a team. You know what I mean? It was just bubbling. We just got to. Just get that one. When we got that one turned to two, two turned to three, three turned to five, you know what I mean? Oh, so on and so on. But we just had to get that ball rolling. And that team right there, man, that was something special. My biggest regret when I played at Tech was that my freshman year, they didn't redshirt me. So I could have been on Chad and them senior year that next year because they burned up my red shirt playing special teams.
Cool.
Oh, God.
Boy, if you was on that team, boy. Oh, bro.
I got. Go ahead, Cole. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, man, that we would have went to the BCS somewhere. I promise you that much.
we was in Miami. We would be in Miami, boy. Them coaches out there that game, boy. Lord.
Chad, you would have played that game with that shoulder? You would have played?
What? Yeah.
Listen, I had when I popped it out that last time, and I knew I could feel the difference. I was like, it's gone. I went. It was like 3 days later. I went to see Dr. Andrews. And he asked me, he said, if you had to play, will you? I said, yeah. He said, okay, you probably got 1 game or 2 games left. I mean, we're going to play in the, Fiesta Bowl. Yeah, I'm playing in Miami. Yeah. And that year was going to be Florida State. Like, oh, yeah, it would have been numbed up.
Okay.
I would have been strapped in just like that. But I was definitely going to play that game.
This is my last question. I'm going to let VK and George take over. And I was telling them yesterday, I said it was crazy. Tech had an overtime win, then had an overtime loss. Tech played Houston, had them 34-7, and Houston came back and won that game. The biggest game of the season, Nevada, it was for the conference championship. If y'all win that game, y'all are down 20-7 going into the fourth quarter. What changed, fellas? What changed? Because defense stepped up. I think y'all only allowed them 1 first down. Y'all get 3 touchdowns. Talk about T.O. getting the game-winning touchdown. Cole get the sack at the end, and everybody went crazy because that was it. What changed, guys?
I mean, that Nevada teams were during those years were just great off the rip. I mean, even without Kaepernick, I forgot the kid name who came after, but the boy was good.
He was a Kaepernick Jr.
Yeah,
just as tall, just as fast, just as lanky,
and was strong. And they always had a stable of running backs where you got that pistol offenses. I mean, to this day, since coaching, it's still one of the hardest offenses to guard. I mean, if you watch today's offenses. Everybody's utilizing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We still got that crazy spread. We might not have it as fast like it was, but you still have it, in so many colleges. I mean, Coach Dykes that's his offense in TCU. And then obviously with times you change things, but I mean, it just go ahead, Cole.
To me, I feel like we hit a perfect storm. They kind of, like we did in Houston, they kind of, hey, we're going to bleed the clock. They rely heavily on their run game. So their pistol QB option, because the biggest thing with their QBs was that those are some tall, lanky boys. I don't mean to mess with you, Chad, but boy, Chad had the angle on Kaepernick. And I'll never forget, Chad pulled a hamstring trying to catch him.
Oh, let me tell you, it's the funniest play because I tell everybody all the time, I said, listen, he's like, boy, you got burned by Cap. It's on tape. I said, he will do that to anybody on any level. And it was
I agree.
Oh, when he creased up the middle, Charles Woodson, you left.
Yeah. Yeah, and Cap was the type of guy you wanted him to go east and west because you take him north and south. He like a gazelle. He covers too much. He covers too much land, but he was never a shifty guy. versus Utah State. Now that little quarterback at Utah State, he was shifty, but he wasn't the world's fastest by no stretch of the imagination. But the biggest thing on that comeback with Nevada was just that, man, they kind of got conservative. Offense got going. We got them key stops. We, another big thing, another great thing about our defense that wasn't really talked about. We got great positioning most times coming out there on the field with defense with Ryan punting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ryan was a big key to our defense because it's a lot harder to go 80, 70 yards versus, 60, 50 yards. Those couple first downs really change your percentages of scoring touchdowns. And,
You got
Ryan
that
really
from Mark
helped pin them
Thomas.
back there. So it was just a perfect storm that just culminated all together right then. And guys just made plays. Yep. Guys just made plays at, the old saying is big players make big plays in big games. And that's exactly what we did. And we had to have that win in order, because everybody and mama knew we were going to put BTA on New Mexico State that next game.
Right.
Even though New Mexico State seems like they got a little bit better over time, but back in my gap, that was like training game. You know what I mean? We just
that game.
But we just it was just a perfect timing, man. It was just perfect timing, guys. We just locked in and just got it done, man. I was just real proud of the guys because that was like the best turn. That was the best feeling after the game. It was people in the stands. Get me right. We was talking mess. People throwing stuff at us. That's good energy. That's good vibe right there. You walking and you talking your noise to them, and because the next year, I think that was their last year in the WAC. They went to the Mountain West the next year, so we sent them on about their way with an L. They can't come get their get back. So this is what you got to hold in your memory as the last time playing Tech.
And look, it was one of them games where, what was it, 10 degrees? The field was
it was pretty nippy out there.
Game. Like everything was opposite what we're normal at, what we good at. But I can tell you for sure, even when we was down, and at that point, that was a team we had never beat. Nobody really tripped out. Like nobody really got panicky or anything. Like we was like, no, we're gonna be all right. Like because we were sitting there as a defense going like, we in this, we making them work. They're not moving like we thought they were gonna move. And offense was just wasn't clicking, just like, tip pass here, right here. But then when it went. And then all we knew, we just had to make a couple stops here and there. And I remember one play I almost knocked myself out. But it was basically a goal line stand we had.
It was.
I'm not sure if they made a field goal with the turnover of downs, but that's possessions a lot of people don't talk about. Or mention normally, like they were 3 inches away from clinching the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we was able to flip it back. But that was one of them game turning points where we knew, as not just defense, but as a team, where we changed like La Tech. We changed we're into a part now. It's like, oh, this is different. We the hunted.
Yeah.
We obviously we still hunters. There's still a level to climb, but everybody looking at us. Not just the teams in our conference, but just everybody, because we was getting those. That was a couple of years where we was getting comparisons to saying, is Tech the best team in Louisiana?
Mm.
Or is Tech just as good? We go back to that year we played them down there. There was an 8-point win for them.
Yeah.
5th ranked team in the country.
Yeah.
And so we, like we were saying earlier, we just had that moment against Nevada just solidified that we knew, all right, boys, we done did it. We done made it. And then after that was just like Cole said, we had New Mexico State that next week. We were like, boys. Then I remember the running back was talking crazy, saying he was gonna have all these yards. Yeah, that was a beautiful 44-0 win.
44-0. Yeah. Jay Mills, your thoughts?
Yeah, we weren't clicking as an offense early. They were keying on Q. People don't forget, we only had one running back, Hunter Lee, because Lennon was out with a high ankle sprain. All our running back, Ray had broke his back earlier that year. And then Tevin King wasn't he wasn't on the field yet. So we were down to one running back at the time, and they were keying on our run game, and they knew we were gonna throw the ball to Q. And then at halftime, we were like, "F that!" Like we got players out here can make plays, and I think, well, Miles' coming out game was Fresno State,
Mm-hmm.
but Miles really stepped up in a big way because everybody was keen on Q. We started pulling the trick plays, pass plays out of the bag that we used to practice every uh Friday, or was it
Mhm.
no, Thursday? Every Thursday practice for that hour of practice that we started pulling them things out of the bag. We started working. Like I said before, To had that crucial. I think it was either third. It was third. It was like 3rd and 8 or like 4th down, and we went for it. He had that toe tap catch, like doing a smooth criminal on the sideline type of catch for a big first down. I know Tyler had a touchdown catch in the back of the end zone. We had wide receivers step up and make some plays, and we just, we had a calmness about ourselves. And this was like the first game that Coach Franklin didn't curse or yell. He just came there and was like, "Guys, we got it," and we were shocked because if you know Coach Franklin, he was going to MF somebody at some point throughout at practice during the game. But he came in there so calm, like, "Guys, we got this," and we were down a couple of scores. It was like, "Man, yeah, we can do this," and we just started making big play after big play after big play, and it just that feeling of relief of finally beating Nevada. After the previous 2 years with Kaepernick and the other guys they had on that team. They had a Virgil Green was on that team, a
Yeah.
tight end that played a long time in the NFL for the Broncos. So, and they had a lot of talent on that team. So to get over the hump on that team, they last year in the WAC was special. We I wish we could have had Boise the same way that year because they left that
Yeah.
2011 year to go to the Mountain West.
Devin, Kaepernick was not on that team. Lau, I know you was hurt, injured,
Mhm.
but your thoughts, man, once y'all won that game.
Man, so I was excited, man. Because that's something that we envision, something that we want to capture, especially on the collegiate level. Not too many guys that came in with our class, our '09 class, really won like state championships. So I mean, I was happy for a lot of my teammates because like I said, sure, we had New Mexico State the next week, which we knew we was gonna win that, of course. So but I was just happy for just the team in general, to actually have that on their resume and know how much, man, we grinded, man, with Coach Harrington and everyone else, all them summers and all that, hard work. And now all that stuff paid dividends, and we ended up winning a WAC championship. So, I was excited for them boys, man, and I was happy because, like I said, I wish I was even more a part of it, and it was a little bit frustrating that I wasn't on the field, but everything happened for a reason, man, and I stick by that. And like I said, man, it was, man, it still eat at me, because, man, sure, we had one hell of a team, man, and even a better team the following year. So like I said, it's just some stuff we had to go through, but man, I was excited, man. That was kind of our breakthrough, man, and La Tech's breakthrough, as a university.
Yeah. I got George Peppers and then VK Jones got a couple questions for you all. Go ahead, George Peppers.
What's up, fellas? First off, thank y'all for joining us tonight. And first, before I start, I want to tell all of y'all, the three of y'all here, um, they should put a videotape together and give it to these young kids. You guys were a testament to how to overcome adversity, considering the horrific start you had. I wish today's generation of kids, I know it's 15 years, 14, 15 years this year, but I wish these kids now would see what you guys went through, all the hurdles that you had to go through, and you found your way to a conference championship, got to a bowl game, and gave TCU a hell of a run. I appreciate that your team, that you guys showed such character and such resilience.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Not a problem. Now, JB, you mentioned to me that they played one of these games in a tropical storm, right? That was the Southern Miss game.
Correct.
Now, we talk about elements all the time, snow, wind, rain, but you guys played in the middle of a tropical cyclone. What was that experience like?
Windy.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, but like it's a different type of windy because it's like it's swirling. So it's like the
Right.
ball tracking here and it's going right, then it comes back left. I mean, I think I think that was probably like my last year. I was still like the backup kick returner. I remember being back there trying to field a kick, you just couldn't. The amount of water on the field. I mean, it was a turf field, so it wasn't like it was naturally draining. You had puddle areas. I mean, I think we changed socks and pants after pregame. That's just the amount of wetness it just was. I know I tried gloves, out the question. I think we was one of the few teams around who probably played in every type of weather. I mean, I might be wrong, but we were almost close to being postponed or the game getting rescheduled because they didn't know if that tropical storm was going to clear fast enough. I mean, we literally played as it like left the stadium. So it was one of those situations where it was just like, if we play, we play. We don't. But it was I mean, it was a great game. It was fun. I had a good hit in that one. Hurt still, but
Yeah,
wish we could.
yeah, man. That game will always stick with me. My family members and people from my community, they would always, once or twice throughout the year, they would get charter buses and charter to a couple of my home games. And some of my family members knew some people from Southern Miss, and we getting ready for the game, and my grandmother was on the field. And I was trying to figure out what she was doing on the field. But I had kickoff return for a touchdown. That game. And it was just it was the first game of the season. So me, Chad, and Jay Mills, man, we started since we was freshmen. And so, anybody that have aspirations of playing on the next level, going to the NFL, usually their junior year is usually their biggest year. That was the first year Lavis was gone. So I was kind of assuming some of the kickoff return duties and return duties since he was gone. And just going into that year, I was probably one of the few athletes that was just with the quarterbacks in the quarterback room to play in multiple positions just to get the ball in my hands. But that was one of the craziest games I've ever been a part of, because man, it was storming so bad it only looked like they probably had 50 people that was left in the stands once we came back out there, man. But yeah, enough, tough loss, man, to Southern Miss.
Yeah, that was a pretty good football team then. But Chad, let me come to you because I want to talk about your defense and how it really evolved that year. It started tough. You guys gave up a bushel load of points, and then y'all really got it together. But the big come out game for your defense was the Ole Miss game in Oxford. Talk about that game in particular, and really just the evolution of how your defense got better as the season went on.
Like I had alluded to it earlier. I mean, if you go back and look, the 4 years I started, in sequence of obviously guys graduating and moving on and so forth, there wasn't a lot of turnover. Like when I got to Tech, it was Antonio Baker, Deion Young, Terrence Catley. Mm-hmm. That was your Strong, that was your Free, that was your Nick. And you kind of knew, like, all right, and then everybody else after that, we were, basically all freshmen. There were 4 seniors, maybe 1 junior who at the time wasn't really playing. Then it was me and 5 other freshmen. So we kind of knew, hey, I love you guys, but we battling for one spot. And I'll tell a story. When Bate got hurt, he broke his leg against Boise State, and then actually trained. Could he still play? That's when I knew Big City was different. If you don't know Antonio Baker, look him up. He's the safeties coach at Southeastern now. One of the best ball players I've ever watched. One of the hardest working dudes. I mean, built like a tank, could run, just monster. And he did it so nonchalantly that nobody really knew he was out the game. And it was one of those opportunities where I wasn't actually slated for his spot, but I paid attention to the nickelback, strong to free, to where the next guy wasn't necessarily just ready. I just jumped on the field, and that kind of, started my, course of history or whatever. But we didn't have a crazy amount of turnover. And then even, one thing that helped us is that we didn't change coordinators. Now, we didn't might necessarily reach the levels that our defense probably should have because of the players we had on that team. And as a coach now, I could look at it a little different. And that style of offense we had. If you go look at a lot of other teams who ran that, I can guarantee you none of those teams had a top 25 defense. It just you don't have enough rest time. If you got an offense that's scoring 60 points a game, they're not really on the field a lot, or if they're just scoring. So somebody else has got to counter that. So like Cole was saying earlier, bend, don't break. We had blitzes. We had a ton of different things we could have did in game, but especially people who we were playing and the style of teams we were playing, a lot of that stuff takes time to get those signals, but we couldn't. Maybe we could have had more pre-built in stuff to where we saw it and we just went to it. But when you got a bend, don't break defense, you have to have a lot of good players that could consistently do the same thing probably all the time with the offense knowing what you're in. That's the one thing about, like, it's hard for defense, especially with these two offensive guys. When they study in film, they know if they're playing a cover 2 defense or a cover 1, cover 3, man to man, what's our beaters, what our checks. As a defense, we know that they know that, and now we gotta anticipate and hopefully make the right breaks, checks to where we in these plays. So I think if we didn't have as talented of a group, that defense probably we might not be talking on the stream right now. We might, Jay Mills might not have been in the NFL. No, he probably still would have been in the NFL for that long. But things might have been different. You know what I mean? It just things how it is. I mean, you go back and look at it like we talk as boys all the time and just think about the totality. Ryan Williams was a starting cornerback on our team who used to be at Auburn, and everybody knows that name now because of his son. But if you go back, look 14 years ago and see how swift and everything, how his son is, look at Pops. Pops was moving. He was an ACL and whatever from being a starting cornerback at Auburn. And that's why I always, when Jared, when you asked me to do that, and we were talking about Tech, and I saw the quarter century list, and so proud of Jay Mills for making it. We all knew that before we even stepped on campus. Like, that dude's gonna be a dude. And so it's just like the totality of seeing everything now, being able to talk back about our success now, and it's just real good. But I know there's a lot of us defensive players who wish things could have been a little better. But I mean, we got that ring. We had some of these a legendary team that's still being talked about now. So it's a lot, ain't no regrets really, but it is what it is. But we happy what we was able to accomplish, and to see what happened after we left, those 6-7 years, but we just kept, and it all started from really 2008, give Coach Dooley that staff, they started with them setting that recruiting, I think it was like 8 or 9 guys just from South Louisiana, like LSU doesn't do that. They're gonna get a little pockets here and there, but it was, we was at the Bayou Bowl, and there was 5-6 of us from the same school, and it just so happens those 5-6 dudes wound up being, really good at the collegiate level. So, it just brings good memories, a good thought. But yeah, we always wish the defense could did some more, but we may do.
I mean, you won 7, 8 in a row. Man, a heck of a finish. I want to ask you, the three of you, plurally,
Let Jordan go
what was
first.
it about Louisiana Tech that said, "Yeah, I want to, I want to go here. I want to go to Louisiana Tech to further my career." What was it about Louisiana Tech that's convinced you? Yeah, I want to play here.
Well, this is a good one.
Um, obviously, when we went there, Ruston is today wasn't the Ruston we knew. Like these kids are spoiled. Uh, man. But it was Lyle was on my visit. Chad, I think Chad went on a different visit, but it was me,
No, we
Lyle,
was all
Rufus
together.
Porter. Oh yeah, we were okay. It was me, Lyle, Chad, Rufus, and I forgot who else. I think Andre was on
Andre.
our visit. I think the camaraderie of meeting each other and when we got around each other, it was like we had been, teammates and friends for years. And it's just the feeling of family and the tone that Coach Dooley set when we came on our visit that man, we can change the culture here. And I think for all of us, we in our minds, we had the mindset of we don't have to go to LSU or Alabama or Florida to make our name known. We can do it here. And to see the facility and what they were trying to do, and them coming off a bowl win and things, and meeting the players that were already there. I mean, I committed on my visit because I just had a feeling about Tech that I couldn't explain, that I had when I went to other schools. It's just, it was just a different feeling. So yeah, and when they mean, like, a lot of these coaches, when they try to wine and dine you and tell you, oh, you gonna be the guy, and when you get there, it ain't true. Like, no, Coach Dooley didn't he ain't spare no expense when he said, oh, you gonna be one of those guys. Eventually you were gonna be one of those guys. And for all of us, we had the opportunity to show that we were going to be one of those guys because we all started our freshman year.
Go ahead,
Mhm.
feet. Loud.
You a dog
Um,
barking, coach?
Tech was the first school. Yeah, that's mine. Hey, Tech was the first school to offer me. When I ended up going out there, uh, they kind of told me, hey, look, we got one of the best returners in the country, which is Philip Livis. Of course, when you come, we would like for you to kind of learn from him, follow in his footsteps, because he was 2 years ahead of me, and kind of that was kind of the role that they kind of envisioned in me playing. But you know, uh, from coming from a community, where I come from, playing D1 ball and having an opportunity to play as a true freshman, that was never really, a thing. Probably Chris Henry probably was the only other one that I know of. But um, going to the visits, knowing that hey, I used to burn Chad in track, and we used to talk a lot, about him losing to Bell Chase in the Superdome and all that other stuff, man. But we had man, all them boys was like my brothers, man. And what's he, what I really appreciate even more, even when Dooley decided to leave to go to Tennessee, and you respect that, for somebody to take that opportunity, to coach in the SEC. We didn't have nobody transfer. The only one was Doak, which Doak didn't play. He was a redshirt quarterback, but we all stuck it out. We could have, said, hey, look, we're gonna go somewhere else or go JUCO and then try and transfer somewhere else. But man, we were so tight knit that, man, shoot, we went through the trenches together. Like I said, we went 4-8 our freshman year, 5-7 sophomore year, and then finally, able to have a breakthrough. The only thing, for me is I wish I would have played our true senior year to a certain degree, because I didn't know coach Coach Dykes was going to leave and go to California the next year. But we had so many great athletes. There's only one ball on the offensive side of the ball. And so we had all our athletes on the offensive side either got drafted or they even, had got picked up. So from Talib to Miles White, Quentin Patton, Lennon Creer, Kobe, Kobe, so I missed out on that opportunity. But again, man, just being there with them guys, man, enjoying the grind, and seeing a lot of our goals that we had, together, come to fruition, man. I truly appreciate my time at Tech, man, and being with them boys for real.
I see Lyle got the jokes tonight, but that's all right. I wasn't no track guy, so I mean, the fact that I ran kind of fast, I was happy with that. But them boys that in South Platinum years, him, Ridge, and all them boys, Seth, and everybody, it was crucial. So I had fun messing with them, and I mean that comes to a point of why we kind of went to Tech. We met and knew a lot of each other before we was even recruits. We knew each other sophomore, junior years. I mean, that was the camp years, man. Spark camp, the Nike training camp when you had to get the mail invites. Like, we were part of that era where you still had a lot of that old school, like, granderness. Like, when you got those invites, you knew this was like, oh, this is legit. In comparison to today, where there's a lot of other factors that play into, why is this kid this, why is this kid not, and so on. But I mean, I remember when that first visit, Tech was, like Lyle said, Tech was the first school off for me. I remember we was at the Nike training camp in Baton Rouge, and I was having a good day. And then I remember our D-line coach was at that time was Coach Jimmy Brumbaugh, and he just ran up to me. And I mean, this is a big dude. What's up, man? Hey, I got coach on the phone. I had no clue who. It was Terry Joseph. What's up, Bo? Hey, just want to let you know you got an offer from Louisiana Tech. And I was just like, oh, word? Oh, cool. And I mean, from that moment, every day, letter, phone call. And Jay Mills could attest, Lyle, we had a lot of offers. I remember having like 12 to 15 when it was all said and done. Now, maybe half of them were not as committable as maybe some other ones are. Sometimes we had one phone call with a coach and he said, I'll offer you, and I never hear from him again. So, but I tell this to kids now, and especially Lyle can attest being a state championship coach, you want to go where you need it. You want to go where you feel like they need you there. Like, I felt like I was needed at Tech. They presented like, hey, you'll have a chance to play, but there's 3 seniors, and after that, it's best man gets it. And I like that. I like having to be able to say, I'm gonna work for something, I'm gonna get it. And then at the time, we came in, we never sat. Like, I had the mindset like, I gotta go, I gotta play right now. I gotta play. Like, if I'm sitting here, I feel like I'm not. What am I doing? When you never been somebody who's never sat, never been benched, always been one of the guys, you kind of keep that to the next level. But like I said earlier, I had some dudes in front of me that I was just like, yeah, the boys, they could play. Dion got moved to corner mid-year freshman, and then I was inserted full time. So, and I got to tell kids now, like, go where you need and not where you want. Don't fall in love with the name of the school. Fall in love with the school that loves you. Because I see it year in, year out. I won't say no names, but I'll see a kid commit to LSU. I was like, he'll never play. I see a kid commit to this school. I'm just like, that's not the fit for him. And not a lot of times it's not athleticism. It's the style of offense, the style of players that play in that system or whatever. Because you got just think about coaches now. I tell people all the time, if you look at Coach Saban in the Nick Saban Alabama years, he kind of recruited the same person over and over again. Now, they had different attributes a little bit, but they go from Julio Jones to Amari Cooper to Calvin Ridley. They always had a staple of an unbelievable crazy athlete and then one incredible route runner. You know, they always had a stable of one super fast running back, one crazy bruiser. Then you get Derrick Henry, who just had both. You know, but those great coaches not really a rhythm, but a pattern or a sequence. Say this is how this can work. And for some, it works out great. Some others it doesn't. You know, um, but yeah, I mean, Tech was just one of when we had that visit. I took it all the time. Like we still laugh and talk about that visit. You know, we had a lot of fun to the point. I remember one day we came in that second day, we was all sitting down. We was missing Andre because he had a lot of fun the night before and it literally disappeared and just popped up 2 hours late to lunch. And we was all like, oh, I mean, it was just from there. It was just from there. And that we all took other visits and nothing felt like that Tech. It's in the middle of Russell, Louisiana, in the middle of nowhere. You driving through woods and stuff, and all of a sudden, boom, the school. It's not a big school. It's not a party school. It's literally not. The school is not what you really like when kids say they want to go to college and stuff. Tech's not normally the school they're picking. But it's the best bang for your buck. I mean, unbelievable education. But I mean, we made it something. I tell people all the time, like you got places are places, but it takes you to make it. And we had not just our recruiting class, but we had an incredible group of people from all ages. Um, they got some crazy stories that are just not safe for work about people, but that's the stories we talk about as players. I think the characters that we had at Tech during all our years when we were there, I just don't know if you're gonna find that at many other schools. It not even that time period, but in just ever. I mean, even championship teams didn't have the characters like we have in that team. So that was a big reason. And then the year before in the bowl game was Northern Illinois versus La Tech. I had offers from both. I didn't tell nobody, but I was like, whoever wins this game, I'm probably gonna go to that school. And then Tech, Daniel Port had a great game that night, and it was in the Independence Bowl. It was packed. And after that, I was like, I think I know where I'm going. But that's even before kind of knew. But I was like, by that time, I had both those offers. So, but yeah.
GP, let VK get his questions in. We running short on time.
Okay.
Yeah, fellas, got some interesting questions for y'all. First of all, either one y'all could start. How was the bowl experience? Was despite losing to TCU, how was the bowl experience that week, especially going into the Poncetia Bowl in California?
Glad it was in San Diego.
San Diego,
For
yes.
sure.
San Diego's nice.
For sure, man. I would say it was a great experience. Experiencing a different, atmosphere from Louisiana going to San Diego. Uh, 70-degree weather, not too hot, away from the humidity and stuff like that. And just the things we got to do leading up to the bowl game, going, I think, was it SeaWorld?
Yeah.
We went to, walked around, going on the, I think, naval base, seeing the ship and things of that sort, and being able to go out as a team, not having, restraints by the coaches and stuff like that. And we kept it cool. We were professional, going out, walking around the town. I think it's the Gaslight District in San Diego. Walking around there, we were all together. We ain't had no problems. Just seeing a different scenery from what we were used to, because San Diego is a nice city, and then you go to Ruston, man. All we had was Southern Classic, a Walmart, and some gas stations, man, and that was it. And then you get in San Diego, you seeing big houses, the beach, nice cars, nice weather, and other things you don't normally see where we were at. So it was a great experience, and ultimately, we lost that game, which we had. We were in, you know, we had a chance to win it, but to be a part of that experience and be around our teammates, man, and the camaraderie that we had that year, throughout the year, the ups and the downs, man. It was we after that game, I don't think we felt like we were defeated. It was just like everybody that whole year just had the odds against us, and I had people from back home saying, "Man, TCU gonna bust y'all ass," and I was like, "Y'all gonna see." And they had some of the top, they had a top defensive end that I was matched up with that didn't sniff Kobe, and people forget that QP had a matchup against Verrett. What's his first name? He's a
Jason, I think.
yeah, he's a
Jason
former
Red
first round
Corner.
pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Pro Bowler, and first rounder. Uh, that he was going up against, and we were right there at bat with them. And it's just we were a few plays away, but man, that whole week was a great experience.
Chad Board.
I wish today's players would take the bowl thing a lot more serious. I understand that they a lot of these kids got bigger, brighter futures. They don't want to mess it up, but it's an incredible experience. I mean, we're there for a whole week. What people don't realize about bowl games is that both teams receive equal perks. The only major difference is one's going to have the winning trophy, the other's going to have the runner-up trophy. Some bowls do rings, some bowls don't. That's kind of the major difference. Everything leading up to the bowl game is the same. What people don't realize is like it's pro bono, it's extra. It doesn't truly count. I mean, it counts on your record, but it technically really doesn't. It's an exhibition, unless you're in the playoffs and at that time we were still BCS. So if you was in that system, obviously it counted. So you know, we looked at it more as like, it's TCU. It was in the Rose Bowl the years before that. Like just like Jay Mills saying about those players, the quarterback was Casey Paha, who was considered a first round super talent at that time. He was 6'6", could throw the ball anywhere. I mean, he could be far hash and make a 70-yard comeback to the far side, like on the rope. I mean, they had some incredibly talented running backs. I mean, one good friend of mine, Kenny Kane, was on that defense, who was a standout at John Curtis, and he would stand out for TCU. And to where a bowl prep bowl week, football kind of comes second. We got all his engagements, interviews. Like we were doing the stuff at SeaWorld, the zoo, where we had to make special. I had a beluga whale touch me in the face. I mean, those things are ice cold. We had, we had a lot of fun to where you didn't have to always think about football and then obviously when that day came, we was in forget what the San Diego Stadium is called, but that's before the Chargers moved. And for a lot of us, especially me, that was the first time being in the NFL locker room. Because the one we had for the state games in high school, we was always in one of the auxiliary. But we was in the pro thing, and it was like whole pro setup. I mean, it was a great game. It was a really good game. I gave it that touchdown at the end. That if I had probably one more step, it could be a different game. But I mean, I think the bowl experience is wonderful. It's bad that we only had to have one. Obviously, should have had two, and really probably should have had three if things were a little different our sophomore year. Because we was on the cusp. I mean, we was entering that. I remember the Nevada game. If we had beat them and had a chance to get to 6-6, we finished 5-7. Get to 6-6, we was gonna have a good draw because we finished strong. So I wish all these kids now get bowl experience. I mean, I don't need to worry about getting hurt and stuff, but how many times you getting hurt in camp? How many times you getting hurt during combine training? Football's football. If you can play, they're gonna find you. You're gonna be on somebody's team. We see it time and time again for all these players who might miss out and then get a shot later on.
Well, RIP to Qualcomm Stadium, which now it is Snapdragon Stadium San Diego State bought that property and turned it into their own stadium. So that's what it is now.
It was nice.
So, it's very nice.
Well, you could definitely see why they wanted to get out of there. They had some cracks in that thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can see it from the foundation all the way. Like, ooh, all right.
And man, I gotta say, big time props to San Diego State, man. They was really taking over in that area, and it was about time for them to get their own place, and about time to really do that. Lomfy, your thoughts on that bowl week?
It was awesome, man. Just the experience. Of course, I wish I would have been playing. Again, man, that season we had a lot of great athletes, man, that was injured. So I mean, I was soaking it up, soaking it in. Of course, I played ball with my brother, so my brother really wasn't playing. I think he was redshirted that year. So was able to enjoy it with him. Can't be on this podcast or on this show without mentioning Tyrone Duplessis, he was injured. And so, man, we had a lot of jokes, man. We always messed around, bro, and some good times, man. Good roommate. But we had so many people injured, and some sidebar conversations was, just, man, we got the whole team coming back. For the most part, everybody was juniors, everybody was coming back the following year. So it's like, whatever we do, that's cool, but like, I know for sure we're gonna be better, way better, because like I said, the whole team was coming back and everybody was hitting their stride and really growing into who they were, so I think everybody built confidence, and it was just good seeing us compete against a caliber team like TCU and really take them, 4 quarters, to the point where shit, we had opportunities, man, to definitely, steal that victory. Because, man, if you go back and look, I'm sure nobody picked us to even have a chance, let alone win the game. So, but it kind of just let us know, man, who we were and how good we was, in the entire country. So, man, like I said, I thank them guys, man, for carrying us and getting me there, because I only played half the season, but I definitely appreciated that trip, and and I second that, Chad. I think everybody that does play college, unless you're a bona fide first round pick and everything is kind of sold up, I think you should take that opportunity to, to play in that game, because like I said, man, sure, it's something that you don't, some people wish they could play in a bowl game. Yeah. Some people wish they had an extra game. And that's what you play the whole season for, to play in the postseason, whether it's the playoffs or, just, the plethora of bowl games that they do have. So, but, yeah, that's kind of my,
Wow. Shout out to the family of Tyrone Duplessis. RIP to him, man. I mean, he was awesome in itself. I got to ask you this personally, loud to you on this question. The Ole Miss ball game, more than anything else, I know you didn't play, but at the same time, this was a full circle moment for you, that your squad went up against your cousin, who was the quarterback at the time, Randall Mackey. We had him on the show last night, and he gave you some big time props and everything else. What you can say about that moment that you meet again, you ran into each other in the dome, but now y'all meet again in the college level.
I can tell you, a moment before Lyle go, a moment that Chad finally beat Randall Mackey.
I ain't
gonna lie, I'm glad we busted his ass. I don't know if I can say it, but I'm glad we won though, man. Because during that week, I was getting calls from people from my community, that was of course pulling for either side, and we really didn't always win or was favorable to beat a SEC school. So for us to, and I know Ole Miss was kind of on the downside. They really, didn't have, too good of a year that year. But, just for us beating them, man, look, I'm glad I got the one up on him on that, man, because he got me the one up on me on everything else.
So I'm still 1-2 in them, but I got the last one.
I know that's right.
Man, this is amazing, man. And I know Chad took that personally more than anything else, and I get it, man.
I,
I
I told him
I
after the, I
totally get
remember
it, dude.
I went to
I
find
totally
him
get it.
after the game. I said, Randall Mackey, Chad Boyd, and he gave me a look. 26 from Shaw. He was like, he said, "You got me." I was like, I had to come and tell you because that. Listen, we talk about dudes. That dude was on a different level. That dude, listen, it was the first time I ever seen a quarterback not do a cadence. The running back did all the cadence. Hut, 1-1, everything. He just backed up. Boom, boom. I mean, whatever he want to do. He was that. He's arguably top 10 players, top 5 players ever in the state. I legit, like Joe Knight was a good friend of mine, and we watched him, and obviously Joe's up there. But Randall Mackey was sick, man. I see a lot of y'all bring haunting memories. I'll never forget first place, sophomore year, state championship game. D'Angelo Benton, #1 receiver in the country. I'm like, I just can't get beat. First play, it's a go ball.
Wow.
The ball stayed in the air at least 7 seconds. They was on their own 20. The ball landed like on the 5.
Wow. Yep.
And I just remember going, I got to run with him all day.
Yep.
You know, luckily for me, I had a good game, and that was my breakout game. But like,
yeah.
Oh.
Hey, look, let me make you laugh real quick. So you lost to him your sophomore year. I did too when I was at Bell Chase. We played them the first round. And so I had a good game as well. I think it was only either like 2 or 3 running backs that rushed for 100 yards, you know, that season. Daniel Bourne being one, me being another against that defense. Now, of course, you know, I kind of got most of my yards against the scraps after they was blowing us out. But nevertheless, I scored 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. But yeah, they blew us out. You know, our sophomore year, his junior year, man. It was, I mean, definitely even one of the best teams ever. You know, in the state of Louisiana, man. I'm telling you, the productivity, you know, not only high school, college, NFL level that they had, not only on the offensive side, but the defensive side, man, it was loaded, man. So,
man, you look at how he played football in those days, and tell me he don't look like Lamar Jackson right now. Except he was probably. Well, he's probably 190, 185 when he was playing. Lamar was probably 170, a little smaller, but all the moves, that cannon arm, like the Mackey was.
And you look at the area itself that, and I was talking about that yesterday as well, from that Plaquemines area, that whole Plaquemines parish, like Mackey is like #1 probably all time. Loud Feet is #2, Rich Turner #3, and then you can't forget about Terrence Jones, Kenny Keydrolls, a lot of great, and the Mackeys, the other Mackeys, you just can't forget it. They have been some great, awesome athletes coming from that area.
Yeah,
and you just can't forget about the Bell Chase boys, like the Shane Shelleys, the Chris Henrys, even the Eddie LaFrancis. So, you know, it's an unbelievable area.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna ask this last question.
I wouldn't even put myself in the top 10.
Oh wow, that's humbling, dude.
We got so much talent, and it really wasn't because of just talent. It was, you know, some stuff might have been books, you know, and other reasons why they didn't get that opportunity. But man, we had so much talent in that, you know, in that small area. But nevertheless, man, I'll let y'all keep going on with the show, man. But I just want to be humble, and you know, I appreciate that gesture, though. Yeah, keep me up there, VK.
I appreciate you, man, because you going back with the history with that, man. I really like that. Last question I'm gonna ask you guys. And this is kind of a fun question. This is a kind of a real fun question. Y'all got the victory that turned the season around at Idaho. Mm-hmm. Tell us the experience playing in the airplane hangar in Idaho. Probably, to me, one of the most unique college football stadiums. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that it is, you're playing in one of the smallest areas, and you're playing in basically one of the few place you call an airplane hangar in college football. What you can say about the experience playing at Idaho?
Well, I tell
Jordan,
you this. That's the one. That's one
Man,
of the good things about being at La Tech. During that time, we went everywhere. Hawaii, Utah State, Idaho, Reno, Nevada, Fresno State. Like we're. But one thing about the Kippy Dome, so everybody don't tell you, it's on top of a mountain. You going up sidewinding hills until you get to the very top. The crazy part about it, the setup, how they have it, is really nice. It's got a nice login. It's got easy entrance. The problem is, I mean, you can probably go look up these clips. I think it happened in our game. The end zone, and it's got the 1.5 yard out of bounds marker behind it. About 2 yards after that, it's a little bit of green patch wall. That was it.
chain,
Wall.
metal wall,
I mean, it
not a
had the
regular
pads on
wall.
it.
It's a
Like
metal wall.
it literally was a 100-yard arena football arena. I mean, if the normal out of bounds on the sidelines was normal, but if you caught a post too deep, you might. We watched the guy hit the wall and then wake up.
Oh God.
We watched the guy run and bang, and that was it. He was done. I mean, it happened multiple games, but it's a crazy setup because Idaho during that time wasn't one of our tougher teams. If you're playing Idaho and New Mexico State, you were kind of just like, all right, we're gonna get out of this. But anybody can get got, especially when there are other teams at home. And that game there, which is one of the games where they were kind of rolling, when Idaho got good. I remember they had a little slot receiver that was trouble. I was like, these dudes got good or something. But I mean, like you've heard the stories. I got knocked out from running into my teammate trying to get a pick. Lau with his leg. I mean, the turf wasn't great in anything like that. But it was the Kibbie Dome is one. Utah State's a beautiful because you got the whole mountain range behind it. Obviously, Boise State's Boise State. The blue turf does it. They tried to fake punt with us with the guy laying down on the sideline. It was either the punt or the field goal. And luckily, we got to experience some nice places, but that Kibbie Dome, man, it's not for the weak because you can barely breathe.
Yep.
You can barely breathe because any high altitude, even if it's pressurized, they try. You just can't. It's hard to breathe. That Utah State and Nevada, I mean, you just like breathe the icicles. But yeah, I'm gonna let the other two talk because even though we had good experience, obviously winning and doing stuff there, hotels and the travel wasn't always. It was different. It was different.
Go ahead, Jim Mills. Tell us more about that travel and that week in itself, because I
Man, when
know.
we going up there, like when he mean winding, like dog, you look at it like you watching movies, people robbing the cars, and then you see them on the mountains on the curve, and you can see the ocean. That's what we were going up, and I'm like, I ain't never seen nothing like this. And we on a bus, and the road was so small, and then we get there, small country town. We stayed across the street from the Kibbie Dome. Like we were right there on the campus. Like the hotel was right across the street. And then we get there inside the stadium, like the locker room, it was the size of somebody like your office or a media room in your house. That's how small it was. And all you trying to fit over 90 guys in one of them small locker rooms. It was uncomfortable.
You was glad if you was
Uh
a starter because you had a locker.
you- And we didn't even have a locker. We had chairs. They didn't
Yeah.
have lockers. We had chairs. So they had to set up chairs in there. And then like Chad said, one of our guys got knocked out. That's when we first figured out like they had a black tarp covering the wall. Cause it was it looked like lockers, but it was a metal wall. And they just recently changed that a couple of years ago because another kid got hurt
Yeah.
and they were the NCAA forced them to put padding on the walls. So it was a different experience. Like Chad said, we got to go to different places like Fresno,
Mhm.
Boise, New Mexico State, and things of that sort. Just playing in the WAC, man, it was a different experience. Like when we went to New Mexico State, man, we stayed an hour away in
In
El
El Paso.
Paso. We had to stay in El Paso and then drive an hour or two to New Mexico. And then even though we had room, that situation was worse because we didn't even have a locker room. We had it was some building with we just had chairs set up. So it's a different experience, man. I wouldn't change it for the world, but that game, like I said earlier, that game started it all. But that was the body bag game. Everybody went down, like from Lyle, and I said one of our other wide receivers, Gilly. I got a sprained ankle, but I played through it. Jelly sprained his ankle. And it was morely on the offense. The only person on defense that got hurt was Jelly. Everybody on offense just seemed to go down that game. Like
Chad got a concussion in that game.
Well,
that.
I was back the next week. I might not remember the game, but concussion. I
Like,
was nothing.
man, I was like, man, I sprained my ankle in the first quarter and just stayed in. You go watch the game. I'm hobbling. And then I saw because the screen that Lyle caught was from the left side. I'm running play and looking, trying to go run downfield. I'm looking at. I said, oh shit. Then you just get and he get laid out and then he bent back and I'm like. Oh, he
Yeah.
got up, he fine, and then later on we found out he tore his ACL, and that was the last thing I was thinking. I just think he just got knocked out. Like man, and to believe that game started it all for us on that 7-game win streak, man, and all we've been through, man, and, playing in the Kibbie Dome. And being in Idaho, man, it's not one of the top cities to go to, but it was an experience.
Yeah.
I'm like this. Is it the padding of the wall at Idaho or the pink in the visitor locker room in Iowa? I don't know. Either one. That's an interesting experience in itself. I know you heard about the story about the pink locker room
Hey, look,
at Iowa.
Idaho probably doesn't fit no more than 12,000.
Yeah.
It's only one level.
Yeah.
It's one level, 100 yards down. That was it.
And don't tell me the crowd
And get
is
loud.
It get loud.
And get loud.
Oh God!
One thing I'll never tell you: any dome, anything, any sound in there amplifies.
Loud. Talk about the experience that particular game. I know you've been to a lot of hostile environments through your high school career. Talk about that experience going to the airplane hangar.
So that wasn't the first time I played in there because I played there my true freshman year, so I already kind of had a idea. But one thing about that dome, we played at Auburn, we played at LSU, and it gets loud with 100,000 people, but it's open stadium. It's an open stadium. Man, that closed dome, when I tell you it get loud in there, man, it's probably right behind Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M probably was the loudest stadium I ever, played in when they had Von Miller, and Von Miller was whipping our tackles' ass. And I ain't gonna say who the tackles was, but
I wasn't in there, so you throw me out. I
That
was not
wasn't
playing.
Jay Mills.
I was not playing
That
that
wasn't
time.
Jay Mills. It was not just yet. We watched Von Miller for 2 plays. We was like, oh, we know what top 5 means.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, man. Man, we played at some awesome stadiums. Some stuff that you got to be there, man, to experience it. A lot of the, I mean, you're playing on the whole other side of the country. So I mean, for as me, when I got introduced to really going to California and Nevada, Utah, Idaho, man, it's just different. I'd rather play during the day too because man, at nighttime the air is just different. So trying to prepare, get ready for a game, man, it's different, man. So the time change, you trying to get adjusted to the time change. Of course, we played at Hawaii, and even being out there for 3-4 days, still had us in the loop, because ain't no way we were supposed to get drugged like that at Hawaii.
I was jet lagging the game. I can tell you that for sure.
What happened?
The game at Hawaii, I never felt right that whole game.
Right. No.
Like I felt like fast. I felt quick, but just didn't. Like stuff just wasn't clicking the same. But that time change. We talking about a 10-hour difference.
Yeah.
I remember we came back. We left Saturday. We landed almost on Monday.
Yeah.
Coming because we skipping times. Time going this way, we going this way. And I was just like, dang. I mean, we were the only Central Time Zone team. Everybody else is either Pacific or Hawaiian. And that Lyle's right. That was rough.
Yeah.
And now what made it worse that pissed us all, we were on a commercial flight.
Yeah.
And me, my big behind, my 6'6" behind, was in the middle seat.
So they had you in the middle.
Because we flew
I feel better now. I was in the middle seat.
our private, whatever the SunTrust plane to Cali,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
LAX, and that 5-hour flight to Hawaii, I was stuck in a middle seat for 5 hours.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. Was it 5? I thought it was like 9 hours. It was 9 hours total.
9 hours total.
Cali from Reston to Cali was 4 hours, and then from LAX to Hawaii was another 5.
Hey, that's what they don't tell you too, boy. You're over water for 4 hours. All you see is blue water for 4 hours. Hey.
Yes,
Listen, we're gonna play football. Like, oh Lord.
Yeah, bro. Good times, bro.
Man, ain't nobody went to class that next week, bro. On the way back, we flew back to LAX. Then we flew to Dallas, and then we got on the bus. Like when they say they drug us, they drug us. They flew us back on the way back to Dallas, and then we got on charter buses and drove 3.5 hours back to Ruston.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. We got back on. It was almost Monday.
Wow.
I changed my seat coming back. I went to her and say, hey, is there another spot that nobody's taking? I literally was like 7 rows in front of the team. Just so I could get some space to space out. Because see, like them fools, I had to stick Greg Salas and some of them boys from Hawaii. Then, like, dudes, man, that's the one thing I always tell people. Like, you go back and look at it, it's one thing I think we all can be proud of. It's the level of talent of players, regardless of the school, that we got to compete against.
Yep.
We talk about dudes who are going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
We talk about Von Miller, Mike Evans, that's off the wrap. You know, we forced the Heisman Trophy winner to have one of his not really one of his best games, but force him to do things he wasn't normally doing. Especially right before Manziel, what he did against Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Kaepernick. I mean, look at the head coach of the Saints. We played this dude.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We played him. So it's good stories that we get to tell a lot of people about people we get to play and stuff, you know, and then we say, man, I made plays against that dude. Like, you know, I had a couple good nice PBUs against Manziel, you know, and like Mike Evans almost stripped that ball from, like, you know, you get to say those things and then you see, what is he on, year 12 of 1,000 receiving yards straight? Like, I didn't see that out of him then, but I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. I mean, so yeah, man, just nothing but great memories, great stories. Some crazy times, doing some crazy things at crazy places. But I agree with Lyle. We played in some places that you wouldn't think would be loud, be crazy, unreal. You know, like obviously those SEC schools, they got 100,000. They doing something. But Ole Miss got 50. They get loud. You know, we made
Mississippi State with the cowbells.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the greatest. If anybody's ever played football, Mississippi State's field is the absolute best. They irrigated from underneath. It's like nothing. It felt fast. It felt supportive. It was great. You know, you can't take those experiences in you. You get to tell people I played at LSU and Texas A&M.
Yep.
It's 2 of the top 10 stadiums, you know, college football. You know, we get to sit there and tell people we made LSU people get quiet. They thought they were going to lose. You know, we had
one of the biggest hits of college football.
You know, we had Texas A&M worried. You know, we made Big Ten teams like we made people fire their legendary coaches. You know, when Derek Carr and Devontae Adams were freshmen and sophomore, we ripped them in Fresno.
Yep.
I forget his name. The head coach who was there forever, coached both Carrs. He got fired after that game.
Slocum.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's work was the literally reason why we know Fresno State to be Fresno State. Got fired. So, you know, we get to say these things, and it's great. And you know, like we see each other now. Like me and Lyle are coaches. You know, we just come off season where we, as a coach, we won a state title. Jay Mills did 8 years in the league, was unbelievable star. We had the homecoming where we reunited first time, a lot of us, even guys who left the school, but it's still that same tightness that we all have. Like, some dudes I didn't see for 10 years, but it's as if we were just in school the other day.
Yep.
Like the conversations, the memories and stuff, it's just right there. So it's always good to talk about them. And then let these young dudes know, like, look, your coach still the best athlete on the field. Now, don't get it twisted. the cleats still come on, so that's definitely one of those things.
You said Pat Hill that's who you fired in 2011.
Pat Hill, as if
Pat Hill.
Exactly
He became the winningest coach in Fresno State history outside of Jim Sweeney.
Yep.
So I see what you talk about.
You talk about the Fire Stadium. That's the first stadium I had to walk down to go in. It's in the valley.
Sure is.
Fresno State.
It's kind of like how Clemson is
With the hill.
how they do they walk down.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
Man, and that hill was steeper than at Clemson.
Oh, that was a long walk.
Yes, indeed. Fellas, I want to thank y'all for joining us. And Adrian Cole, I know he had to leave a little early, but I want to thank y'all for joining us tonight for Legends Month. Truly appreciate it. Wanted to honor the 2011 WAC champions, give y'all some recognition, because there's still some people in the state that don't know y'all won that championship. So I want to honor y'all with that, man, and I want to thank all y'all for joining us tonight.
No doubt, no
Thank
doubt.
you, man. Appreciate you.
When La Tech gonna honor y'all, man?
Hey, whenever y'all need me to come here and spill the real truth about JB the Sports Guy, y'all just let me know. You know what I mean? I get them right up here. I get them right.
When is La Tech gonna honor y'all, man?
Well, if Chad can say this, I lit into their ass for homecoming.
Look,
I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, don't say Jay.
I'm not gonna say what happened, but I lit into their ass.
Right.
So when they did the century thing, which Chad should have been on that list. I don't care what nobody say. There's a lot of names that should be on that list. Tank Calais should have been on that list. Josh Victorian, Weldon Brown, and some other people that were left off that list that should have been on that list. But it was a fan vote. And I told people, I spoke to the assistant DA. I understand we love our fans, but y'all know who belongs on that list. Put them on that list. Y'all don't have to involve and go off the fan vote every time. Yeah, but I told them about that and just honoring people in general, because just to speak by Adrian Cole, like when kids come through this facility, they need to know who Adrian Cole is.
Yeah.
Outside of Fred Dean, and it's very close. I know Fred Dean is Hall of Famer, God rest his soul. Adrian Cole is the best defensive player to ever walk through those doors, hands down. And my cousin played at Tech 2, Tremont Williams. Adrian Cole is he top two, and he's one of the best defenders that ever played. Walk through those doors. And just like Chad said earlier, like we had Bobby Wagner in that conference. And when you look at the two and you look at that film, like you can see the difference. And one is gonna be a future Hall of Famer.
I mean, Bobby Wagner, you got people that consider him top 5 all time. That's Mike linebackers, and he's got a valid argument. And then, like we're saying, like, listen, we love our school. I would never take anything back. I mean, I still wear my ring from time to time, but we're the last championship team. They haven't brought us back. It's been 14 years. Usually you get a 10-year, something like that. And look, even let's say they missed a year, they brought, I think there's things, obviously, us being like me and a lot of coaches, obviously, JBL's pro player and everything. And one thing I'll say, they've listened. They've listened, especially J Mills say, but we ain't got the time, but that could be another convo, but they listen. And I think, the tech of the old, obviously NIL changed a lot of stuff and who you can get and who you can't get. But I think part of the reason why we were so good is even if NIL or was then or not then, it's the people. Terry Joe was our recruiter. Even though they left after 1 year, a lot of the stuff they said was true. We are gonna have a shot to play. We was gonna have a shot to do this early. listen, they got a couple guys in front of you, but I believe you can get them. And we're us three for sure. We're testaments to say that was true. And obviously, everybody's story is different. Everybody's, not going to have as maybe a clearer route to do whatever. Got to go through some hardships. I mean, listen, I had a hardship. I mean, entering junior year when I was getting moved from nickel to strong to free, had a rotation after starting 2 years, being, all conference. There was a moment in training camp where I was like, I think I might transfer. I'm not getting to play and then 2 games in, still kind of worked its way out to where I never left the field. I played from Nick to strong to free. And obviously, shout out to our boys, Craig Johnson, and
Jamel
was at free. Quinn was with us. Javante Crow. Like, we had some straight up dogs at safety, man. And a lot of times it just like we got into a state where we had a lot of good dudes. We had to rotate them. And then, styles. First a spread team to a power team, you had your mix. But I won't say what I know. J Mills the one other thing he wants to say. I'm not gonna say because I'm not gonna out my school about that. But we're the last championship team, and the school really can't show it. So if the people that know, they know what I'm talking about. So
it's gonna change. I'm gonna make sure they change. Like, it's just it's too many good players that came through that school, and in order to recruit, you got to show that. And I understand the lineage before us, the Bradshaws, the Fred Deans, the Willie Rose. We understand that, granted, but it's a lot of great players that came after that you need to display and bring back in honor. Because when you see all these people, you name the accolades of people, man, and the people that played there, like, Philip Live, there's Adrian Cole, Baker, Tank Kale, Josh Victorian, Lyle Feet,
Terry
IK
Carter.
in the Palais, Terry Carter,
Pat.
man, it's just it's a lot of people that that came through that school and made history, man. And it's they starting to change the tides of it. They did this quarter century team that I'm very honored to make. But it's a lot more that needs to be done because there's a lot of people that paved the way. And like I, say all the time, but they said before we did, like, and I agree with them, that Tech, and I'm gonna stand on that. Tech wouldn't be Tech right now if it wasn't for the 2009 class. They wouldn't have that stadium. They wouldn't have that press box. They wouldn't have that new facility. We changed the atmosphere for that school. Other classes can argue that. That's fine. But when we stepped on that, and when we stepped on that field, like, we weren't scared of anybody on there. If you wanted to play, if you played with one of us, you played with all of us. And more times than not, I was coming running out of nowhere because I protected all of them.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did.
And look, like J Bill was saying, if them 08 and 09 high school classes changed Tech. The offense, the defense, to obviously all of us. I mean, even people forget IK, Jelly, those are 09. They got redshirted.
Right.
My boy Chuck and all of them, they got redshirted. So it's another thing to say, what if we had got redshirted? Would have been that year after. That's all he say, she say, but it's all love, it's all good. And I hope that in the coming future Tech can get back to where it was. I think just the landscape of how it's like when the WAC was ending was his best years, and then we made that jump to Conf USA because Conf USA was obviously the next best thing to it. Now the Sun Belt's better. There was you ask any of us 10 years ago, we go, oh, the Sun Belt's gonna be a better conference. Like, no way, no, not.
No
Right.
bullshit, yeah.
That's the school we passed on them schools so we could come up to here. like we said, we had other offers where we could have went. We might have sat 2 years. We might have sat 3. Some dudes can take that. I know we couldn't. We just couldn't. I could have went to Ole Miss. That game was personal. I had dudes I knew on that team. Part of me was like, I see the safety that they picked over me, and I had a fumble for a touchdown. Like, I had a good game. So I felt that one after that. But it's like, we had those players. We had those guys. Like I told us, don't know how Jay Mills wound up at Tech. He should have been SEC.
Yeah.
Just like
I felt the
Hey
same. I felt the
Chad,
same. The
hey
way you
Chad,
felt about
that
Ole
was
Miss,
the
I
first
felt
thing
I
I
felt
told.
about LSU. That game was personal for me. That game was perfect for me because I was supposed to go to LSU and they switched up. That game was personal for me, and I went up against a previous year All American and a first team All SEC defensive end uh
Mm-hmm.
that game, and I made it personal. I was a 18-year-old true freshman. I didn't care about the crowd. I didn't care about anything because it was personal. But I'm glad I went to Tech because it's like I tell people all the time I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't because the what I experienced there I don't think I would have experienced anywhere else. God
Yep.
put us in a place for a reason.
look, make this quick. If I'd have went to Northern Illinois, I would have 4 conference championship rings because they won 5 years in a row, and they wound up going to the BCS, and they wound up losing to Florida State. I don't think I would have had the same experience like I had at Tech. I don't think we were able to like do this right now if I went up there.
Right.
Different culture, different. And I remember telling the coach, he's like, "What was the reason why you went to Tech?" It's like I said, "Coach, everything is beautiful, everything is great, but there's a collective group of guys in this class that I just we're gonna do some things, and our little history might have been short. What happens if we didn't lose to Utah State in that senior year? A lot of things can be different. What if these injuries didn't happen? I tell people, we had an unbelievable team, defensively, and then because of the OA squash, we able to bring in the freshman phenoms like Kenan Dixon and Tevin King.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people all the time, like, y'all know KD. Before KD was a starter, Tevin King was like Noel Devine of our, like, I mean, the dude was untouchable. Who was it, Virginia or Illinois?
That was
Illinois
Illinois,
for a
Mm-hmm.
quarter. Like, hey, he probably
and
don't have to be in the game, but he's a freshman. Neat.
and he was a leading rusher in the nation, by the way.
Yeah.
No scat back.
You
Like
know, he
I'm not
was the
talking.
leading
I'm
rusher
not
in the
talking to
nation.
Michael James. I'm not talking to Michael James. I'm not talking none of these little running backs that were scat backs. They were fast. Yeah, Tevin was fast, but he will go in between them tackles and he will run a linebacker over. Small
He
in
was the
stature,
leading
but hard of a
rusher.
lion.
He gets hurt. The dude that comes after him sets almost every NCAA record.
Yep.
Kenny Dixon.
You know what I mean? Tech, man.
Crazy. Crazy. Guys, I gotta let y'all go, man. We thank y'all for doing this. We truly appreciate it, man. All the stories, good times, y'all. Chad Boy, Loud Feet,
Yes,
Jordan
sir.
Mills. We had Adrian Cole also earlier. Thank you, fellas.
All
No
good.
problem. Appreciate
All
it.
right. All right. 2011 La Tech football team, Western Athletic Conference champions. A lot of stories they were telling, man, from the season and so on, man. So we truly thank them for coming on, man. It was truly a blessing. Your thoughts, George Peppers, about that La Tech team after you hear
I
the
mean,
stories from these guys.
hearing the stories now post interview were great stories, and I now have a nickname for the Kibble Dome. It's the elimination chamber of the WAC. It is the elimination chamber. It really is. I mean, you've got a metal. Now, if they did put the padding on there, great. Because dudes were running into that and getting knocked out. I mean, they were getting Goldberg, when he ran into Bret Hart with the metal plate years ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the spear chuck. But
Yeah.
anyway, no, that was great stories. But you know what? My biggest takeaway, guys, from this interview is the camaraderie, the bond these guys have.
Brotherhood.
You can see that. It's so easy to see. and envision. And I purposely asked the question about their recruitment to Louisiana Tech because I wanted to see what, and that's the answer I was actually aiming for. I was looking for, when they all answered in Q the same way.
Yeah.
Because Louisiana Tech, let's be honest, it's not the first school that rolls off the tongue when it comes to college choices. We see the LSU's, the Michigans, the Florida States, uh, the Ohio State. I hate to say it. Second place team in Big Ten this year. Uh,
National champion.
they are. Penn State's winning the conference, so we'll see about that. Yeah, Penn State. I said it, but you see all these elite programs. That you see the big profile programs. La Tech's not a big profile program. They're a good non-power five. Sure, they had some bumps in the road post these guys. They won, but then they ran into the Skip Holtz era, which I don't think they want to talk about that era too much
Skip Holtz was
because it
winning.
wasn't it.
Skip Holtz was
Huh?
winning. No, Skip Holtz was winning.
Not
Skip
Skip.
Holtz. Now Sonny Cumbie's in charge
That's
now,
him.
and I think I'm telling you, 5-7 last year, things started happening. Good things, kind of like Sonny Dykes' first year. You start a little
Mhm.
increase, 5-7, and then the second year, 8-4. I
Got to a
think
bowl.
I think this year, I think that football team may have a winning record. I think things
It
are
may.
starting to
I
happen
don't
pretty
have this.
quickly.
I don't have their schedule pulled up, but it may. And look, again, what this team proved is the brotherhood that you mentioned, but to me, the perseverance they showed, and they described it in detail in some of the games. It really do, it really, really did. When they talked about the Ole Miss game, that was the come out game with their defense, right? And yeah, Ole Miss wasn't any good that year, but still, a non-power five to go into the Grove and hang and throw a 7 point beat down on them. Give
20
up
points.
7 points,
Yeah,
20 point, but they gave up seven
right.
in the game. And I like how Chad slipped that in about he got one on Randall that day. Great.
He
You
did.
know, there's still two in the dome. Just saying,
He ran the
there's still
fumble,
two
picked it up, and ran it 30-some yards for a touchdown.
that he did.
Yeah.
But it was a great interview. It was a great recollection, great reflection. And this is what part of Legends Month is. When you get legends like this that we do, we're on our third go around, we interview these legends and they tell us stories that we have not heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have not heard these stories. Obviously the surfer stories, that everybody knows about. We don't, they got in depth with us and they got in depth with us. And this was fun. This was really fun. I wish Cole would have stayed on. He had to dip out early because I really wanted to get him, because it's something I'm sure the three of us agree. If the dude was a little bit taller, he's definitely an NFL linebacker. He would have been drafted. But then the counter argument is Sam Mills.
Yeah.
The
VK.
counter argument is Sam. We can't take it out.
Yeah, I mean, this was a really good interview tonight. Um, I tell you, man, this was some great podcasting tonight because of the fact that this tribute to this team, but then on top of that, the brotherhood and all these great stories that they told tonight. That's what podcast is about, man. You got to make it interesting, and we made it interesting tonight with a lot of these stories that they told about a lot of the games, the experience, the game week, the travel. It's amazing, especially for them, Louisiana Tech being in that WAC conference, meaning you're going almost any and everywhere. So and they went through it and experienced it, so and very unique stadiums and home traditions they had to go through. So, you know, gotta love it, and especially all the adversity they had to go through those, not just that year, but all their years in their career at Tech to make the impact that they have made.
Most definitely, man. We're gonna go ahead and close it out, everybody. Close it out. We'll be back Tuesday and Wednesday. Stay tuned to our social media pages to see who our special guest will be. So make sure y'all stay tuned. We're back Tuesday and Wednesday. Thank you to Adrian Cole, Chad Boyd, Loud Feet, and Jordan Mills for joining us on tonight's show as they represented Louisiana Tech and represented the 2011 Western Athletic Conference champions. So we'll see y'all next week. Thank you to everyone who tuned in also tonight to watch this show and who also tuned in last night for Randall Mackey. So we thank each and every one of y'all. But it was great time with Randall Mackey, great time with the La Tech football members from 2011. For George Peppis and for VK Jones, I am JB the sports guy. We'll see y'all Tuesday. Y'all take care.
Green Law Firm is a full-service law firm specializing in personal injury, criminal law, successions, and family law. With over 25 years of experience, the Green Law Firm continues to provide efficient, competitive, and effective representation to clients throughout the state of Louisiana and all across the nation. Consultations are free. If you're looking for results, call the Green Law Firm at 504-328-3990. That's 504-328-3990, located at 931 Westwood Drive, Suite B in Marrero, Louisiana. The Green Law Firm.
At Bayou AV Security, we are your one-stop shop for all your needs, whether it's enhancing your home entertainment system, securing your property, ensuring a seamless internet connection, or illuminating your outdoor spaces. We've got you covered. Bayou AV Security, where technology meets reliability. Call us today to experience the Bayou difference.
JFK Martial Arts offers a wide variety of martial arts programs for kids, teens, and adults as they empower lives through martial arts. Please give them a call at 985-266-0664 and don't forget to ask about their 1 week free special. Feeling drained from the constant noise in your daily life? Immerse yourself in pure audio bliss with drums. Experience a world of crystal clear sound, free from distractions. Discover the ultimate relaxation and escape into an oasis of serenity. Grab yours today. drumsworld.com.
Hi, my name is Micah Higgins, head boys basketball coach at Bonneville High, and you're watching the Hash It Out Show. Go.
Thank you for watching the Hash It Out Show. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you.